It's almost here. Yeah, dude.
Excited?
Oh, I'm so excited. Well, there it is.
Like opening day feels.
It is. It's like opening day feels for sure.
Rick's just shaking his boots.
I'm so excited.
What's up, man?
Wow, buddy.
How are you?
Good. I got
Good.
something for you.
Oh my goodness. Look at that. Yeah, you did an awesome job. Holy.
Yeah, I just
Rehydrating it and everything.
Yep, took it all apart and
Should we get it inside
yes,
so the wind doesn't?
I would love to do that.
This is a man who appreciates his own work heavily. I don't even want to touch it. Welcome to the range, everybody. I'm your host, Ricky Bruley. You've met Josh Wells once before. Welcome to the Range Podcast. I'm Ricky Bruley, and with me is Jake Hollywood Iverson. Join us at the Archery Range, where we'll tell stories from the hunt, discuss technical bow shooting tactics and gear, and pick the brains of some of the most successful people to ever shoot a bow. Whether you're about to shoot that X for the win or send an arrow at a trophy buck, this podcast is for you. The Range Podcast is brought to you by Vapor Trail Archery, makers of the best bowstrings money can buy, originators of limb-driven arrow rest technology, and innovators of Stokerized stabilizer systems. Welcome to the range, everybody. I'm your host, Ricky Bruley, and I have a couple of amazing guests here. You've met Josh Wells once before, and he was on, what was that, maybe our 4th or 5th episode.
Yeah.
And we had initially, or right off the bat, had been planning on having you come back. And so here you are. And you brought me this amazing piece of artwork
It's
right
awesome,
here.
dude. Turned out great.
Yeah, this is my bird that I shot this past spring, and after he was here, I had seen his work, and I'm like, man, I gotta get you to make me one of those, and it just blew it out of the water. I mean,
Yeah, it's beautiful. I appreciate
amazing.
the opportunity. I
Yeah.
always tell everybody that because it's super cool to have your artwork in other people's homes and for
Yeah.
other people to see it, and
Yep.
it's a huge honor just to have someone want your business. So I appreciate that. But yeah, it turned out great, dude. Like, they're beautiful. There's a lot of underrated parts on turkeys that I think, and that's what I try to showcase with some of my stuff, with a little bit different designs than you typically see. But yeah, it's beautiful, dude.
Yeah, it's a very unique way of doing things. It looks just unbelievable, and you can tell that you really put, everything
For
you
sure,
got
dude.
into it. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I can tell that you're very particular. I mean, even when, and I'll bring the video up of when he rolls in, but a little bit of wind came up and we start getting a little bit nervous.
Oh yeah.
So let's get it inside and talk some more about it. So yeah, phenomenal job. So yeah, if you're looking to get something like this done, you can look them up, Wells Outdoor Journal on Facebook.
Yep.
Or
Joshua John is my
Joshua John.
my personal account, and just message, text, whatever.
Yeah.
Email. It pretty easy to find.
Right off the bat, you were like, well, it's going to take a little bit of time. And I'm like, I don't want anything. I never want that rushed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and most certainly worth it. I can't believe I'm just blown away. Damon got some video of me in the entryway.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and of the bird too.
Yeah.
When you shot it.
Yep. Yeah. So awesome. Amazing. So I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for that.
You're
And,
more than welcome, dude.
don't leave here without me giving you some cash, because I owe you some money. So, but yeah. So happy to have you back.
For sure.
Thanks for coming. I know. I saw your post. I think it was either from yesterday or today about feeling like Crocodile Dundee coming into the big city.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Like, every time I go here, and anytime I come, we got a cool hotel room. My girlfriend and I got a hotel room, and I just laugh because I'm always like, every time I'm in these situations, like I feel like Castaway or something. You know, like literally the scene where Crocodile Dundee comes to the city, and he's just like poking at the ice machine or something. It's like, I don't have to drive 2 hours and pay $30 for a bag of ice. You know, it's like, it's just wild to me. So yeah, I feel a little strange coming through.
Yeah. That cracked
I
me
love
up.
it though.
Yeah.
Where are you originally from?
Southern Minnesota.
Okay.
Yeah, but only about a half hour from the very south end, like down in the Faribault area is originally where I grew up.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, so not too far. About an hour and 20 minutes from here, so piece of cake.
Right on. And then, so for those of you, a lot of you may know, but this is Damon Wolfe from All for One Creative. He does a lot of our content and asset creation for our social media channels and catalogs and all that stuff. Super talented. Another amazing artist right here in the house.
I'm also Hollywood's replacement. Don't get used to this.
Well, we are actually. Well, you are going to be starting a podcast.
Yeah.
In the near future. So
soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
It's awesome, dude.
Yeah, we're busy with a lot of things right now, so it's kind of been on the back burner. But once we get settled in and get rolling, yeah, I want to do it. Just collaborate with more creatives and
Heck yeah, man.
collaborate with hunters and just get my name out there and get other people's names out there. It's what it's all about.
Networking's everything. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
just hunting stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do them anyway. Might as well record them
That's
for
right.
other people to hear.
That's right.
It's kind of how this all came about, because while we've been waiting, we're just sitting in here talking, and I'm just like, man, we got to start recording this podcast, or we're going to run out of things to say, which honestly, that probably wouldn't happen. I feel like we could sit there for 8 hours and talk.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
Name something.
Easy.
We'll talk about
Yeah.
it.
But yeah, so for those of you folks that missed the previous episode with Josh, make sure you go back and listen to that one. It was a really good episode, and it really kind of helped pave the way for kind of the direction that the Range podcast ended up taking, because I had a vision, but I don't know for sure if it would have gotten to the level that it did, because just we had some meaningful conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
It wasn't just about, shooting bows and
Exactly.
hunting and all that kind of stuff. Like we got into the human psyche a little bit, and there was a lot of people. I think that conversation was impactful for a lot of people.
For sure.
And so again, that's kind of the direction where we started to go. We want to talk about archery stuff and all that, but we also want to, just talk about the human condition of somebody who dives into the wilderness and into hunting. So
100%.
Just real quick, just for the folks who don't know you, just give them a real quick intro on you and what you do.
Yeah, I kind of grew up hunting. I kind of shadowed my grandfather, and that was kind of my foot in the outdoors. And I'll just kind of go through the Cliff Notes version of it. I started mentored by my uncles, and the older I got, the more I was given the opportunity to kind of explore my own interests, and it led to this, to that, and I really enjoy storytelling and things like that. So I had met some different people, started some outdoor platform stuff on different areas in social media, YouTube and things like that. And for years now, I've had kind of my own platform, which is called the Wells Outdoor Journal now, and literally that's what it is. It's my personal journal through my purpose and my path, and I just kind of share. I really love doing photos and writing and things like that. So it's a really big creative outlet for me to kind of express my experiences, and it's really gone well. It's grown. And we touched base on it earlier, and I do it for myself, and that's kind of where it's led me now to being in a seat like this and talking to you guys and meeting a lot of really cool people. So I'm just super happy to be here and having these conversations with like-minded brothers.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. And I certainly can call you a brother. What's amazing, two things that you really know. You got a good person in your corner, right? Yeah. One is that we can have these amazing conversations. We can not speak to one another for almost probably 9-10 months, and then right back in. You know what I mean?
100%.
And I love that. And two, when you're giving somebody your hunting waypoints, that you're bros.
That's right.
That you're bros.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So
that's sacred stuff.
Yeah, and when you have an understanding of what that means and the gravity of what that means,
Absolutely.
it's amazing. And unfortunately, in your case, I wasn't much help, but
More help than you think, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it was extremely tough. The whole season was extremely difficult.
Yeah, and we'll get into that for sure. I didn't really have much of a hunting season. I had a solid dad season for sure.
That's awesome.
Super proud of that. You know, and the other, and what's crazy too is like having Damon, you know, doing stuff and working with him almost on a daily basis. You know, whether it's through text or phone or whatever. Him and I have had a lot of really amazing conversations just back there, just talking about life and God and hunting and all that kind of stuff. And so in that respect too, like I kind of feel like I'm your dad. You know what I mean?
For sure, dude.
But not really, like more like a friend, but
Yeah.
at the same time, like we all have something to learn from one another, right?
Yeah.
So you can learn from my experiences and from the dumb decisions that I've made in my life, you know, and then at the same time I get educated on what makes you guys tick, you know, and you give a fresh perspective to what people of your generation are looking for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So me and my wife talk about that a lot too. She said that she's got I think it might have been a client of hers that she had way back in the day, but they had said, you know, you should have a friend in every generation.
Yep.
Just because everybody has something different to give.
Yep.
So.
And I mean, that's the purpose of a relationship, is that it betters your life in some way.
Yep.
That is why you have it. So it's like you can come into a situation like this and it's like, well, I mean, you can look at these things and go, well, you make my life better because I enjoy talking to you about it, and we get to express all this stuff, and you have resources that I don't have, and now I can share my views with exposed to people that I normally wouldn't be able to expose it through the podcast and things like that, and your videography work and all this stuff. It's like, and we take joy in that, and it's like you bring that to the table in these each individual relationships, and I think that's where, you know, people kind of like, you know, when they're setting their standards and who do they choose to surround themselves with, and that's kind of the golden standard is, you know, and you may think it's selfish, but it's how do you improve my life by having you in it.
Yep.
And when you decide to invest in those kind of people, man, the quality of your life just goes through the roof.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was talking to Ricky about that in a meeting before this, and I said that what started as a business relationship like a year ago, like now it's like a brotherhood.
Absolutely, dude.
And then that brotherhood leads to like exponential growth with the business side, because we both feel like we're not working, we're interacting.
Yeah,
and
for sure. Vibing on the same deal.
Yeah, and if you can correlate your life and your faith and your beliefs and your morals with the work you do every single day, you won't look at it like work. And of course there's always things that are stressful like work and everything, but you know, being able to, you know, like I've talked to some people about that there, and I saw a quote, you have your 6 p.m. friends and you have your 3 a.m. friends. And that's such a true thing.
For sure.
At least me coming out of high school, like 99% of my high school friends were 6 p.m. friends now. I call them, they probably won't answer, but I got 1 or 2 core friends still that I could call them at 3 a.m. Hey, my truck's broke down. They're going to be there. They might not want to be there. They might complain to me, and they might even ask for money. Probably not, but they're going to be there. And those are the friends you want to keep in your life. And I rather have, you know, 5 guys on my back that I can rely on than 20 fake friends.
Yep, for sure.
And faith is probably one of the biggest things, you know, because if everybody can come to faith in your core group, you know, you can dominate the world, because God owns the world.
I was saying this earlier that what did I say? He's wise beyond his years, and then he highly disagreed with me, and then I had some cheeky quote or thing that I wanted to say, and my ADHD something like flashed and my memory was erased.
4 things got jammed up at the same.
And so, anyways,
we haven't even really gotten past the intro yet, but I like where it's going.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm gonna try to keep it, you know, to within an hour, unlike the episode you did with
4
Rush.
hours.
I was like, it was a good episode.
And that's another thing with busy mind and ADHD is I'll start talking about one thing, and then 10 minutes later I'm like talking about like what I'm going to eat tonight, and then it just spirals into a giant thing, and then an hour goes by and you're like, holy cow, I just wasted an hour. But I don't even know where I was going with that.
Well,
but.
I'm gonna say that it is good that you have interesting things to say, and you know what I mean, because again, when I pulled up that episode that you did with Rush River,
we
right?
Talked about everything.
I was like, 2 hours, okay. Well, I was at home and I just happened to be doing some design work, so I'm like, all right,
it's a movie.
Flipped it on, and I got through the whole thing, and it was great. So, in any case, let's go. So everybody knows that I had an awesome dad season. How about your hunting season? I mean, I try to keep up, man, but you are just getting at it, and so let's talk about that. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, Ricky Bruley here, Vapor Trail. We're really excited about some new features that we've just added to the Gen Integrate X limb driver arrow rest. Previous model that we had the micro adjust knob that stuck out, and so it made it difficult to remove these one-piece low pro quiver from Matthews. We've eliminated that knob, and now it's an Allen key that you would use to make that adjustment. We thinned up the area here where the activation cord is as well. We really squeezed it in about 1/4 of an inch. It's a little bit lower profile, so now you don't have any issues with the low profile quiver. Comes off nice and easy. You also have, of course, the added feature of the integrated mounting system, so you can mount the arrow rest right to the rail on the riser of the bow. Additional features include new markings that differentiate your locking screws from your windage and elevation screws. All Vapor Trail arrow rests have a free-floating head, providing more forgiveness and greater downrange accuracy. No need for a bow press. Simply tie the activation cord to the limb and say goodbye to interference with cam timing caused by cable-driven arrow rests. The new and improved GI8X is available and ready to ship. Trust the originators of limb-driven technology and head over to our website at vaportrailarchery.com or stop into your local archery pro shop to get yours today.
Yeah, it was a wild year. It was really different. I mean, I guess I feel like after every year I look back on it and I go, that was a weird year, but they're kind of all...
the weather, man.
Yeah, it's just nuts. But I think it was, I ended up with 10 big game animals across 6 different states with 4 different weapons. And starting from Idaho in the spring where I was guiding and was fortunate enough to be able to kill a really nice colored bear. And then just the West and Midwest, and with the longbow, compound, muzzleloader, and rifle, and it was awesome, man. It was one of my better years as far as I would say just experience and travel and cultured and experiencing things.
Yeah.
The hunt part of it was probably one of the toughest.
Yeah.
And it's kind of contradictory a little bit saying that when, you can say, well, I killed 10 big game animals in 1 year and blah blah blah. And people look at you and go, it seems like it was real tough. But, I mean, what goes into that is, I mean, again, I've pretty much sacrificed everything to do this and chase this while I can. And it was extremely difficult. The archery tags, archery is always my number one, but the archery tags this year were excruciatingly tough. The West is going through a big change. And it's getting incredibly hard to get tags, and the quality of hunts is really declining. And I struggled with some stuff. It kind of seemed like the way it went was I either killed on opening day or I didn't fill the tag.
Oh wow! Okay.
Or if I did fill the tag, it was deep, So, I mean, I think I really honestly think that's the way the majority of the season went. Either I killed on opening day, and I attribute that to just lots and lots and lots of scouting. Mm-hmm. And you live in your truck and you're there. There isn't a whole lot of other thing to do. You kind of have an objective and you're there, and there's not a lot of other distractions. So you're super hyper focused on the task at hand. So there's a lot of scouting, which again, and I would say what led me to a lot of the success that I had this year was where the scouting that I did, it was like find an animal and just ride him out and stay on him and literally just ride with him until opening day and try to get back on him and kill him. Like, and that proved to be extremely effective just because with the pressure and things like that. I killed an antelope in Wyoming this year, and it wasn't a great unit, but that's what a lot of the cases that allow me the opportunity to hunt more is getting these kind of shittier tags that are easier to get with low points. And with that comes its own challenges. It wasn't like typical antelope ground. It was more broken country deer ground, but there was still antelope there. A unit that had, lots of tags available, easy to get for residents. So there was a lot of pressure. And I, when I killed that antelope, I sat on him for 3 days, and then opening day I went and I killed him. But I had 2 other hunters that trailed me for a solid 1.5 miles. And when I ended up killing that antelope, they were about 300 yards behind me in closing, which kind of pressured me into being a little more aggressive than I would have been on the stalks, getting into position for this antelope. But again, if I hadn't done it opening morning and gotten on them, they would have been pushed back onto private, and it would have been a done deal. I'm not really sure what their strategy was there, but I literally had shot it, and when I had walked over to it, it wasn't 10 minutes, and they were standing over it too with me.
Was that with a bow?
Nope, rifle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, such a interesting. So a good buddy of mine, Ben Gatormson, too, he shot his antelope this year, and just a strange situation too with other hunters, and I'm just starting to wonder, like, what is going on?
I know, yeah.
Because I've had moments where I've been out west, and you'll see, I'll see a guy come flying up on the highway, and I'll be glassing some deer, and all of a sudden they'll just get right out of the truck, right on the highway, and then just barrel in after them.
Oh, yeah.
Push them off.
To me.
And I see that a lot, and I think, as a hunter, you should probably think that there's a good chance that maybe there's some people on those deer, but at the same time, like, if you can't see them, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, in your situation and in his, it's like these other hunters like knew.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. They watched me. Like,
I mean, that's just strange to me. I don't want to say that it's wrong. I mean, well, I don't know. Yes, it is in some cases. I guess it just depends on the situation. But maybe I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing they had guns and they were hunting too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was kind of, I mean, I could see maybe staying back and, like, if I blow the situation up, try to get a beat on which way they're going to head. I mean, they were right on me. Like I said, by the time I went in to make my move, I was afraid at where they were that the antelope could see them. So I'm sneaking down these little washes and drainages and stuff, and it's like they're coming, and it's like, holy crap, like, they're gonna blow this whole thing out, and it's this is the herd that I'm kind of I've committed to, and this is it. Like, I don't really have plan B, C, and blah blah, blah everything else, and it's like they're closing in, and it's like I'm sitting there going, I have no idea what the strategy is here, but they're going to blow this whole thing for me. So I had to get a little aggressive. And sure enough, I shot it, and they walked up, and they were, nice enough people.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that was cool. It was super fun to watch, that they said, and blah, blah, blah. And that was it. And it was just kind of like I thought in my head, like, if I had just stayed and, like, really have taken my time with it and how would that have played out?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just super strange. Like, if I see clearly there's an antelope or whatever, and somebody's making a play on it, I turn around and go the other way. I just don't want to be a part of messing that up for somebody at all.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just, and you run into that more and more and more, and the more, I don't know, like, the harder it is to get tags, and the more desperation I think people feel, and like, I gotta get something, and there's just that more of that, like, instead of camaraderie, it's competition, type of thing, and that line gets a little mucked up.
Me and my buddy, we were out of state hunting mule deer, like 2.5 years ago, and we found a buck, watched him bed, and we were just sitting there in our truck, just kind of glassing him up, and no joke, this pickup truck pulls up, and we thought it was like a farmer at first.
Sure.
And it pulls up, I see a Kuyu sticker on the back of the truck, and I'm like, oh boy,
that ain't
what's
a farmer.
gonna happen? They literally pull 20 yards in front of us, 4 guys hop out of the truck, all 4 guys with their bow. They go in after the buck, bump the buck out, and then all 4 of them come back out.
Yeah.
And we were just sitting there in the truck.
Yeah.
And we drove by them, and we like talked to them. We're like, "Did you get them?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, were you going after that?" And we're like, "Dude, that buck bedded 3.5 minutes ago. He wasn't even settled in yet, and 4 guys with bows, Skyline walked in on him and bumped him out. Like, what do you expect's gonna happen?" Yeah. And I guess that's a situation just like yours where you're kind of like, what was going through your brain?
Yeah,
like you saw we had bows. You saw our deer sticker on the truck. Like,
that's the competition thing.
Yeah,
that's
and they parked. Like, this deer wasn't a mile away. It was like 300-400 yards off the road. Yep. Like, you could see him clear as day. Yep. And he could see all 4 of you guys with your bows getting out. Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah. So it's, what do you do?
Yeah,
next, out west, you just got to go next.
Yeah.
I realized that, when I was running around out there my first year, in fact, I didn't even have a bow in my hand. And that wasn't, on purpose. It was just I went to go hang out with my buddy. He was like, "Hey, come on out, check it out," and I didn't even realize that Western hunting was that close. We were just out on Western North Dakota. And, but I just, so I didn't know what I was doing, at all. But I had him there to guide me. Like, I was lucky enough to go, I think probably the first, I would say I hunted there 7 years in a row. And almost every year I hunted with him. Yeah. At a certain point, he moved to Montana, and then he would meet me halfway. So I always had like a good mentor, you know. And there was years where I would go out early season by myself, but I learned I had an accelerated learning curve. Yeah. Just being able to watch him and be around him. So I think about some of the people that maybe don't, like those guys that might have been kind of new to it, but at the same time, there's the factors of, clearly they don't understand, the unwritten rules of
etiquette
of bow hunting and all that kind of stuff. And to me, it seems like some of that stuff just, it just seems like common sense to me. But
absolutely.
At the same time, I don't own that deer, so what do I say?
Yeah. Well, that's what we did. We were just kind of like, whatever. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure we just went to the gas station. Yeah. We were hungry,
but
I think for a lot of it too, for me, is like, I'm passionate about it because I put a lot into it, and it's like, even that scenario where, you could go all the way back to I sacrificed this, but it's like, okay, I've been laying on that hill baking like a potato for 3 days for that opportunity, and da-da-da. To me, I think like a word that I like to use there is like it boils down to respect.
Yep.
And it's not rocket science to look at a situation, assess it, and go, the right thing to do here would probably be to go find my own scenario or my own situation, and I wish this guy the best of luck, and maybe if they screw it up or after it's done, maybe that'll give me an opportunity. But I think there should be some type of mutual respect. But again, where can you say that that's a flawless system anywhere with anything, and again, it's the scarcity creates value, and as these opportunities shrink, the competition increases. And by competition, it's that feeling like I got to do something. I got to do something. I got to do something. And that's where it's, I don't know, for a lot of the public guys too, it gets pretty tough dealing with some of that.
Yeah. So you got a bear in Idaho. You got your antelope. That was, what state was that? Or well, you don't have to say, but you got your antelope. You got, what else you got?
I got two antelope. I got a couple deer in Minnesota. What else did I end up with? I shot a deer in Kansas. What else? My Minnesota bear I got. What else? I struck out in North Dakota and South Dakota. I would say, as far as deer in North Dakota, South Dakota, and again, I don't state name drop a lot, but we're talking it in a different light. So
right.
And Kansas were awful. Kansas was my first experience with Kansas. It's crazy because everything looks deery, like everything. There was places I hiked into that was like, dude, this is gonna be crazy. And I didn't find a track, dude. Like, it was the most barren, deerless place I've ever been in my life. And I talked to a few other guys too, and they were like, this is nuts. Like there's just no deer. I scouted 2 days. I saw 6 deer, and a lot of the public is really spread out. So, I mean, you're covering a lot of ground, and even on the private stuff just passing through, like I did not see a lot of deer. And it was funny because that was probably the state I heard the least chirping from people saying, you know, oh man, numbers were down. There was some, but man, I was blown away by it. But, and again, it's hard to say because I killed a nice buck on opening day, but that just boiled down to, I picked a ton of spots, digital scouting, and that was, I saved the primo stuff for sitting, checked some of the stuff during the day and going in there. Literally, I was to the point where it's just like, I'm looking for tracks in dry dirt, you know? And I found the most tracks there, and I set up accordingly how I figured it would play out. And it played out exactly how I was hoping it would play out. Nice buck stepped out right at sunset with 3 does and was fortunate enough to make a good shot. But I wonder how that would have played out if that scenario wouldn't for how little I saw was alarming, dude. Like really concerning. Like when you're out there and living in it, and I mean, I'm in my truck, like I'm out there for all of it, light till dark, and same thing with the Dakotas, man. Dakotas were super tough. South Dakota was really, really tough. Even East River, there's a little place that I hunt there, and they had so much winter kill. The East River, dude, South Dakota. Talked to some farmers, and they were picking up deer like crazy with the tractor just around their farms, just frozen, no food, everything. Now because they had so much snow, and then it would freeze, and they couldn't get to anything in the wind, and just starved deer frozen all over in the fields. And sometimes, you know, you hear that and you think, yeah, okay, you know, it's a little bit of an exaggeration, but absolutely not, dude. And the hunting, like it showed it. Like, I mean, there was places where, like Kansas, I didn't even consider filling my doe tag because you get drawn, you get an antlerless tag with your buck tag, and I didn't even consider filling it.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that too, because when we did that episode with Jason Matzinger, he was talking about a place that I can't remember exactly where it is, and I don't want to try to guess. I don't remember what state it was, but he had been applying for antelope, and it was a number of years. It took a really long time for him to get that tag, and he finally drew it, and he's like, I probably won't even go because the numbers are so low, and even if I was able to get on one, I don't even know if I'd want to shoot it because, you know, you're just further, you know, you're just what's the word I'm looking for? Perpetuating the problem, you know. So, and again, you know, it's just that's tough. It's
super tough, you know, and that, you know, and you know, a lot of it too is just like this tag availability, you know, and you're seeing that on different fronts where just flat out the numbers of animals aren't there, and then you've got an influx of increasing populations in all the western states. So resident populations are going up. The easier accessible tags and over-the-counter tags for residents is increasing like crazy. Yeah. And it's super tough. Like, you know, aside from, you know, all the other things, habitat, urban sprawl, and all these things that are, there's a million reasons why numbers are going down, and everybody has their theory as to which ones carry more weight than others. Yeah. But it's just this accumulation of all these different things, and then trying to have these experiences, and it's really getting tough. It's really getting tough. You look at states like, and you know, there's always going to be blowback and whatever, but you look at states like South Dakota. So they just went to a draw for their archery license. It used to be over the counter. And it's always, you know, there's always the stigma of, well, all these, you know, non-residents are overcrowding everything and da-da-da. And it's like, from being out in it for, really like 4 months out of the year, I'm living out there, and I look at every plate that drives by. Because I try to like compute this stuff. And just South Dakota, and I don't remember what it was, if it was the year before last year when they were trying to make it a draw. They had sold, so like the whole body of non-resident sales in archery tags was like something just over 5,000. And they had sold just over 5,000 new resident tags that year. So the entire encompassed body of non-residents was the same amount of new people that were buying tags in that state. So, I mean, if you do the math on that, and I totally understand non-residents getting the pinch over residents. I would want that too if I lived somewhere. Mm-hmm. But you put those two things together and the crowding is insane. So what gets cut is the non-resident opportunity, the traveling hunter.
Yeah.
And that's a big reason why a lot of these tags are going down. A lot of people are fleeing where they live due to a ton of different reasons, a lot of it being political now. And it's just making it super tough to draw places. And a lot of the big Western guys will tell you too, like there's a million other reasons why it's getting tough. But the accountability part, nobody wants to say, yeah, it's the residents, but it's the increasing population in a lot of these states that's making these tags super hard to get, because Colorado just dropped their allocation to non-residents and everything. And I don't blame them. Yeah. If I lived in Colorado too, I wouldn't want my resident opportunities to go away. Mm-hmm. So you're seeing guys like me that do a lot of this traveling and stuff. It's getting harder and harder and harder. Yeah. And I shouldn't even say guys like me. Anybody that wants to travel and hunt, it's getting difficult. Mm-hmm. And then pair that up with numbers of animals really on the decline. Like it's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, it's worrisome.
It really is. Super duper worrisome.
I should, statistically speaking, I should draw my North Dakota any deer tag this year, but with the numbers as low as you're saying, and I don't know if I would imagine at this point they've probably announced the plan.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But I should look into it because I know they don't go on sale, I don't think, until March 15th, or I don't think you can apply till March 15th. But so I'm definitely going to be in on that. But then if I don't draw that tag, then the plan is to hopefully bear hunt in Minnesota, but I don't know about that either because, I'm going to hunt boundary waters, so I probably don't need as many, points as most places, but there's still a chance I don't get it. And I've already been kind of scouting out some spots, and I think I have a spot I want to explore up there for bear hunting. But so I don't know. I might just have another really focused dad season.
It's so tough. Like. And for me to try and figure out all these multiple states and which ones you can apply and where are you sitting on points with the creep, and like it's super hard because like you can't really put a pattern together because every year is so freaking drastically different.
Yeah.
Like you think, okay, this year, you needed a half a point more each year. Well, one year it went up a point, one year, like it's just now all of a sudden there's this huge influx of people applying because everybody burned their points here, so they're looking for something, so they're done. Like it's super tough. And like another thing is like when application periods are stacked on top of each other, it's like, okay, I have these two tags and I want this one, and if I don't get this one, I'll try to get this one. Well, when they're on top of each other, the application period, it's like, okay, if I apply for this one, I won't know. So I either apply for one or both or none. And it's like, okay, if my schedule, what happens if you end up drawing both and you can't do both? And and then when the actual draws themselves are close to the same time, it's super hard because, and then you don't want to stack seasons where this block of time is to this tag, this block of time is to this tag. Well, if you pull two tags that are on top of each other, how do you navigate that?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're really cutting yourself thin. So it is I totally get why they have like brokers and agencies that you just go there and say, this is what I want to do. You figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, stacks of notebook papers I have, printouts of stuff. Like
It is. It's complicated. And I know Hollywood and I were just talking about that. We want to do another episode talking a little bit about that. But, some of the nice things are, like, I think Colorado lets you sell your tag back for a point.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of a nice thing. One of the reasons the reason I stopped hunting South Dakota is because I spent 3 years figuring out, 3 seasons figuring out like our honey hole.
Yep.
And then now you used to be able to get the access permit without any issues, but now you have just to apply for the access permit, you have to have your license first. So now I have to invest the $270 odd, and then maybe I can't hunt that spot.
Yep.
And again, I'm like, okay, well then, great. Okay, I can just go scout some new ground, right? But if I'm going to do that, I'm probably just going to put my money into all my eggs in kind of one basket and go elk hunting or something, instead. And so, again, I'm just like, okay, is this, the access permit was just a thing you used to apply for, and you just got it. And obviously that was their testing phase to see how many non-residents are actually coming into the state. And then they probably went, okay, there's way more than we want. And so now, because honestly, I think, my buddy Rick, who is a South Dakota resident, and then I have my other buddy Ears, he's out of Colorado. And I don't think Ears has drawn that access permit since they changed that. And so it's really hard for a non-resident to get it. And then at the same time, so that's when I started going back to North Dakota, because it's like, if I either get the tag or I don't. And that's it. And I don't have to really think about, okay, where am I going to go hunt now? You know?
It's tough. You start throwing in all the different states, and like you got that dilemma with this interfering with this, and am I going to pull this and that? And I'll be really curious to see what South Dakota looks like with some draw odds when they come out with how they made. I think it was like they capped it at like, I don't know what it was, like 2,200 or something like that, non-resident archery. So now you're going to have to start building points for that. And is it going to take 2, 3, 4 points? The hard part for me with a lot of it is like a tag that you normally could have got every other year or something, those are turning into, for a guy like me who's going to be 45 this summer, some of those tags could be once in a lifetimers now. Say I have good knees for, 15 years, and now I can only draw it once every 5 years. Well, then it turns into 7 years. Well, there's a chance that I might only draw that tag a couple more times if I'm lucky for the rest of my mobility hunting life. So, I mean, you look at some of this stuff and go, I don't know where the trend, you know what I mean? Because where we're headed, it's, like you said, it's super concerning. Don't get me wrong, there are still opportunity, and if you do your work and you really look at it hard, there are still tags to be had, but man, it's getting tough. There's
just so many other factors you have to worry about. It used to be, which direction is the wind going, and
dude.
Just really focusing on the details of your hunt, and now it's like it's the process is just insane.
Now you got to worry about just the opportunity of even having the opportunity to go on that hunt.
Exactly.
And for me, this year I don't foresee myself applying for any tags. And the reason I'm doing that is because with work, doing creative work in the outdoor space, your busy time of the year for work is fall. So what happens if I draw 3 out-of-state tags and, my work gets all booked out? What happens to my tag? I don't have it anymore.
Some serious time management.
So in that, it happened to me last year. I drew a North Dakota tag, and I left for a film trip. Before it, I got back. I had one night to pack another duffel, and I was on the road again. And when you do that, when you're on the road for a month straight, it actually starts to, even at a young age, I know it's surprising, but it starts to kind of wear and tear on you.
Absolutely.
And it takes away from the hunt, having to work during the hunt. So this year, I'm just going to have my Wisconsin tag, my Minnesota tag for deer, and then do turkey here this spring. And that's probably all I'm going to do for hunting, just because I don't want to miss out on work opportunities because of an out-of-state tag I have. And at some point, if I can makes time for it in my schedule, I'll definitely start applying again. But as a creative, you focus more on who you're filming and what tags those guys are drawing more than the tags you have on your own, which some people ask me, does it suck not getting to hunt as much? Or they ask me you work in the outdoor space, you must hunt a ton. And I'm sure Ricky gets all the time, you work in the outdoor industry, you must be hunting 24/7 for work.
It's a dream job.
It's that would be a dream job. And if I wanted to hunt all the time, I'd work a construction job in the summer and hunt all fall.
I feel like too, in that situation, what pops into my head is I would almost question the person that says that, what is your definition of hunting then?
Yeah.
Because that's why I love guiding. I think it's hunting. You know what I mean? Just because I'm not the guy pulling the trigger, or you're running the camera, or I'm just leading the trail, taking you somewhere, you're a part of the hunt.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And for me, that's super fulfilling. I don't have to kill it. I don't have to. Just being with somebody that experiences that joy, and just when they go through it, whether you're getting it on camera or you're just sitting next to them. Like, to me, that's like
amazing.
the best part of the hunt. Yep. Like the killing the thing is kind of like its own little deal. So, I mean, I would say in through my eyes, yeah, you get to hunt all the time.
Yeah,
in a light that brings you joy, and you're a part of the experience, and being able to capture it through some type of visual communication is, dude, that's powerful.
Yeah, amen, man. And people ask me, how many animals did you kill this year? Well, on camera, 10 or 12 actually. How many states did you go to this year? This was my first year doing it full time. I went to 7 different states in 3.5 months.
Exactly.
It's
amazing.
And yeah, like you said, like I've been on 6-7 day hunts where I'm waking up with them, I'm grinding with them,
you're hunting, dude,
I'm hunting
100%.
with them, and then when I finally get to film them fill their tag and I've captured that raw emotion.
Yeah, dude.
It's it's a rewarding feeling, just like if you sent an arrow through an animal.
Yeah.
And I've sent arrows through animals, and I've also captured a lot of arrows going through animals.
That's right.
And honestly, to compare the two, it's about the same feeling.
Yep.
For me at least, because I don't know, I just want to be able to capture it because I'm picky and I want to do it in the way I like it too. So I've worked with people that it's awesome.
And that's like kind of where like a lot of the stuff gets kind of lost. Like, we're so like technology and all this stuff, and there's just so much of it. I think a lot of the stuff kind of gets lost in the sense that, you know, why are we out there? What is the hunt? What is the hunt?
Yeah.
You know, we talked earlier about those little micro moments in our life when the deer's coming and you're at full draw and you release the arrow and oh my God, and all this stuff. And it's like the hunt is everything that leads you to that moment.
Yep.
That's what it is. It's a line from point A to point B, and the problem is we're trying to expedite that, and we're trying to make that line as straight as we can. I say, screw that shit. That line should look like this, you know. Those are the peaks and the valleys and the highs and the lows, and like if you're two bros and you're out hunting together, whether you're a guide or you're doing all this stuff, like that to me is why you buy a tag. That is why you pinch your pennies and you drive out of state or you drive to your grandpa's and set up a tent and like you hunt. And like I think that kind of gets lost where people say, well, you get to hunt all the time. Well, no, it's like it is though. Like if you really sit down and you sit in it and you really sit in it and you go, man, that brought me a lot of joy and like that was really fun today and da da da. It's like that's the hunt.
Yeah.
Right. The killing the thing is the killing the thing. That's the shot. Like they're different. They're different. They're a part of the same kind of journey, but they're the process and what it is and what it represents itself it's different, man. And the hunt is, and that's kind of a lot of the stuff where I talk about, and I think it gets instrued with, we're talking where, some people look at you and think you're a tree hugger, and some people think, oh, you're a murderer. Well, if you're kind of up to bat for the right things, you're probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
To me, there's the hunt and then there's the kill. And I've filmed stuff where it's the hunt and the kill. Yep. And I've also filmed stuff where it's just the kill. Yep. And the excitement when the animal is killed comes from that process with the hunt.
Yeah, the path.
And then also people say, because, you post this cool stuff online, right? And that's really kind of my goal with this new thing I'm starting, Project Hunt. But people see the cool trophy photo of the buck. They see the B-roll of us hiking out, sunrise. Like that's what they think our job is. They don't see 50, 60 hours of Damon sitting behind the desk editing, trying to plan stuff, and like you said, pinching pennies. Like I'm 19. Like I'm not rich. Like there's certain things I have to do that like people don't see that. They just see the cool B-roll stuff, which like that's what we're trying to promote because that's what we can offer. But I really want to start showing like what actually happens.
It's the instant gratification society, right? Like we've been desensitized to the suck.
Yeah.
The suck is what makes
the suck is what makes things like
good.
Like
it's the beauty.
It's in simple terms. It's without good, there's no bad. Without bad, there's no good, right? They need each other. So if you don't have any suck, you don't have any awesome. You don't. Yeah. And if you have minimal suck, you have minimal awesome.
Yeah.
And that's where, we were talking a lot earlier about trad stuff where that's why I said I like to dabble with that stuff and have a hunt each year, do it because it grounds me. You know what I mean? Like it just puts you back into a place where you're like, holy crap, like this stuff's freaking amazing. And it just really, if you do that, I feel like it heightens my senses for all my other stuff. It really grounds me. It brings me back to kind of, square one, and you kind of have this sense of appreciation through the rest of it, where I think a lot of people, like with all the gadgets and making things easier and all this stuff, and like we're so into this and that, like we've gotten away from that suck. And I think that's why when people do shoot a deer, they're like, oh, cool, look at this. And that's it. Me, dude, like I'm nuts. Like it's euphoric. Like I'm on another planet. It's cosmic, dude. Like, I've been accused of, like, oh, you get a little crazy. It's like, yeah, dude, I just slept in the back of my truck for 14 days and like eating soft, mushy food. And you know what I mean? Like living on a rock and like, dude, this is like, and let's see it.
And I've been on the side of hills with guys filming them. I've been in tree stands. And like there becomes that moment, and I'm sure you guys have seen it like or felt it like during a hunt, where you kind of just look at your hunting partner or your buddy, your brother, or whatever, and you just look at him and you're like, man, this sucks. And then you both start laughing.
Oh yeah.
Because it's almost hysterical how much it sucks.
Yeah.
And it sucks so bad that you're just like, what do you do?
Yep.
And like driving home with a buck in the truck, and you look at your buddy and you're like, this sucks, but we're doing it.
Yep.
It's kind of like that. Yep. Realization that you achieved what you were going after, but it still sucks.
Yep.
Nobody wants to drive through the night.
Yep.
Nobody wants to be chugging 2 energy drinks a day. Nobody wants to sit in a tree stand for 12 hours. Yep. You don't want to do it, but
I'm going to disagree with you on every one of those except for the energy drink.
It doesn't. Well, it doesn't suck. It doesn't suck, but you know what I mean. It sucks, but it doesn't suck.
For sure.
Yeah. Like you think it sucks in the moment, but after you're like, that was so worth it, and I'm going to do it again.
And also in the sense of storytelling, right? Like when you're telling the suck, like, yeah, dude, I was up on this hill, glass antelope for 3 days, and it's 90 degrees, and you're telling that, and you're like, dude, it did suck. It was difficult.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, whoever you're telling that story to is going, oh man, like that just sounds amazing, Yeah. And if you really, and that's where I reflect, and I have a lot of road time, so it's like that's where I'll sit in it and go, that didn't suck. Mm-hmm. Like that's just how I was describing it at the time. Yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Like it was a part of the hunt, and it was just like, and those suck times where it's like, we just want to expedite over that. And it's like, dude, you're missing, like, it'd be like if you watched a movie and you cut the middle of it out. Yeah. And you just, the intro and the end, like, okay.
That's a good way to put it.
There's no enjoyment in that. There's no buildup. You're not emotionally invested into it. You're not like, it's not, and that's what it is. Like, that's what it is, man. People in modern times, the reason they hunt is because they enjoy it. Yeah. I've never met a guy that's like, oh shit, gotta go hunting today. No, you do it.
Or, gosh, I gotta fill the freezer, else I'm gonna run out of food this week.
Well, that's just it, and
that's
where they say, I hunt to feed my family. Yeah. Clean organic meat, and my argument is that is an amazing part of it. I probably eat more of it than most people. Like I eat a lot of it, and I'll be the first one to tell you this is sure as hell isn't why I do it. Yeah, I do it because I enjoy it. I enjoy the challenge. It is who I am. It's primal. It's genetic in me. I just get so much joy from it. That's why I do it. Yeah. You damn right. I can make some meals out of you toes curl eating them. It's so good. Oh yeah. But that's not why I do it.
Yeah, I've certainly had those moments where I understand, it's not for everybody. Yeah. I understand why people would rather sit on the couch. I think about when I hunted Idaho, and I just remember one of the nights when we had, just kind of a failed day, which in retrospect, technically wasn't a failed day. We got on some elk, we got into elk country, we walked around, we saw some amazing scenery, we had a couple of fires, it rained, just all kinds of different things. But when it's now dark and you're like looking, you really can't see the stars. I mean, you're literally like looking up like this because the mountain you're about to climb is blocking out this, and you're just like, and how tall that thing is, and you're like complete darkness. And you're just like, oh, I just don't want to do this right now. And like you're halfway up the hill and you're soaked, you're sweating, you're, all that stuff, right? And in the moment, it's just like, I distinctly remember moments of just standing there, under the starry sky and huffing and puffing and just thinking about like how much further I have to go, and it's just not fun. But at the same time, just like, dude, I'm in the mountains in Idaho right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not in Minnesota, you know, mowing my grass.
Yeah.
Which actually is kind of therapeutic anyway, as well.
For sure.
But nonetheless,
sure.
like, I would rather be doing that.
Yeah.
You know, and then just everything that goes with it, and you know, and the next morning you wake up and you're like, there's an elk down there, let's go. You know, and you're just like, you literally just hated your life when you're in the bottom of that valley the night before, but now you're like hauling in there, you know. And so it's not always necessarily just the, you know, it's,
It is really hard to be grateful in those moments that suck. But then afterwards, you're like, oh, that sucks. Why did I do that? And then it's times like these where you're like, okay, what are we going to do this year?
Yeah.
And you're like, it's just like this automatic switch in your brain that goes, oh, that didn't really suck.
Mm-hmm. It's different. And for me, like, I know you get to spend a lot of time out there, and that's absolutely fantastic. So I don't mean this in any way for like must be nice. I'm not trying to say that. What I'm trying to say is that I don't get out there as frequently, and so it's like a really very surreal moment for me to do that. And the other day, or like a couple weeks ago, me and my wife and my daughter were just on like a little hike, and I was just like standing there, and I'm looking over this like open field. It's this nature preserve out in, I think it's in White Bear Lake. And I was just sitting there, and I'm just like, just kind of looking out over this expanse as some rolling hills and stuff. And I just like imagined myself hunting, like as if I was like walking out on the prairie with my bow, and imagining the feeling that you have when you're like, well, the scenery is great, but I also have a bow in my hand. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so those moments, I think about that, and you're just like, oh, you know, that's amazing. And you know, sitting in a tree is, you know, the more I spot and stalk, the more I get opportunities to go out west or run around in the hills and stuff like that, the less I can tolerate sitting in a tree. Yeah. But I'll still do it. Yep. You know what I mean? Because the benefit I get from that is reflection and time, just thinking. Yeah.
And it's a different set of skills too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And so, and you know, well, you can probably identify with this, you know, as far as having ADHD too. It's flexing that muscle of being just still. Yeah. You know, so something I definitely need from time to time, without a doubt.
Well, I think the suck part, like where my head went when you said you're standing on the hill and you're like, dude, it's like you need those. Don't get me wrong, like to every once in a while have a hunt where you go out, there's the animal, you shoot it, and you're just like, it's done. It's like, holy crap, because that doesn't happen very often. So enjoy it when it does happen. Mm-hmm. But when you do have those moments where you're like, you're suck, like whenever it's uncomfortable, like that's the growth. Yeah. Right? Like, so when you go into hunt and you don't have any growth, you don't have something that's pushing you, that's going to set you back and go, we're not going to just give this to you. Mm-hmm. Like, you need to earn this. And like, you get into those moments where you're like, wow, like, I don't know if I can, like, our bodies are really good at doing what they're supposed to do and keep us alive and safe. And it's really good at saying, dude, you can end all this, you know, and just, you know, and we kind of touched base on that last time. And it's like, but that's a specific part of a hunt, or again, I think we're trying to expedite and like just blow over that, where there's no growth. And we just kind of stay complacent as hunters, where we start going into these hunts going, I've been here before, I've kind of did it. It's like, well, you didn't learn what you were supposed to learn from it. And I feel like every time you go, and it sounds super cliche, but if you're not learning from it, you're not having those moments of suck. Because those moments of suck, that's growth. That's where you learn about yourself. What can I do? What can I endure? What can I push through? What can I prepare better for next time? It's this whole like perpetual thing that's like making you a better person. Yeah. And I think hunting is like, it's such a awesome ticket to bring that to the forefront, where you can go. And I think, you know, a lot of guys listening to this are going, wow, that's getting deep and stuff. But it's like, well, what do you want from it? Yeah. Yeah. You know, and that's what makes it super awesome, again, when you do have that success. And I just feel like, I don't know if melancholy is a good word, but hunting now, when they go out and they shoot something, it doesn't have that like, gah, you know, it's just kind of like, cool. Yeah. And it's like, because we're just mulling over the uncomfortable stuff. And again, it's that we've kind of really become creatures of comfort. through technology and through, like we talked about with literally where I'm going with this is we talked about you wanting to shoot a turkey with your longbow. You're purposely making it suck for yourself.
Yeah, because I enjoy it.
so that like victory or whatever you want to call it is so much greater. And that is like the true meaning of hunting. Like you go through this process, you're faced with this pivotal moment, the moment, that little micro moment that we chase, and then you have success and it's this big buildup. And like when you feel that, like that's the part where I think it's lacking. And the fact that you want to do something, I get a lot of shit for that. Like, why do you make stuff so hard for yourself? Well, because when it happens, it is cosmic, dude. It's out of body, dude.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna freak out if I hit one with that bow.
And I'll promise you, you kill a turkey with a longbow, it'll trump those how many ever other turkeys you've killed up to that point. And I'm not saying these are less substantial or less significant. It's just there was such a build up to it, and because you purposely made something suck a little bit more. And that's what increased it. And I mean, ultimately, isn't that like a really weird redneck way of saying that's why we love archery?
Yeah.
Right? Because it sucks a little bit.
Yeah. And I also think, a big part of it too is just the confidence that it gives you in knowing that, like, man, I did that.
Yeah.
Not many people.
That was tough.
Not many people can do that.
Yeah.
Like, I did that. That's incredible. Bow hunting is hard.
It's hard, dude.
It's hard.
And you choose to do it on purpose. You know what I mean? And it's like, and that's why, like, when people say, or they're always trying to make it easier, well, that's kind of like the little bit of a stigma with it is like, that's totally not the point. Like, we go hunting because we enjoy it. We could go to the store and buy a cheeseburger or whatever. We're doing this for enjoyment. And it's like, well, what kind of enjoyment are you going? And that's where I think we've kind of had a little bit of a shift towards validation versus fulfillment.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Well, for me, it's like every day, right? You enjoy your hot shower, and it might be different for other people's, lives if this isn't you, but like for me, like I have a hot shower every day.
Yeah.
I have a roof over my head, God bless. I have all these comforts. And then when you put yourself in a position, especially for me, I filmed a elk hunt in Montana this year. Like, we spent 6 days in a tent. I didn't have a pad or anything, like no shower. I didn't brush my teeth. Like, it was disgusting. And like, there's so many little things during that hunt where I was like, if I could just shower and drink water that's not out of a cattle trough, like I feel like my life would be so much better. But like, you don't see those things that you have every day that are blessed, like water. There's so many things you don't have in certain situations, especially in like different countries too. Like, a lot of people don't have what we have every day. And like, really noticing those small things, like when you're in the field, when you're hunting, you're like, damn, like I missed the shower, I missed that, I missed this. And you're just kind of grateful for the things you have when you come back home.
And
like,
you wouldn't have this really cool story that you just told us.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, when you walk to your faucet and you turn it on, it's made me like cognitive of looking at it going, holy shit, that's nice.
Yeah.
You just hit it, and then you turn it one way and it's warm water.
Yeah.
I can get dressed standing up. Like, just stuff like that. It's crazy how much that impacts your life and helps it. And a big part too that I of the hunt, where a lot of people don't realize that hunting offers is it's maybe a little bit off topic, kind of, sort of, but it's just like the healing process, right? Like, that's been a big part of my life in this whole hunting thing. Is like, we're super fortunate people to have something that we love so dearly that puts us in environments where we're able to heal, right? Like, you go sit on a hill, say for 9 days, right? You're solo, you're isolated. You can distract yourself with phones and things like that. You probably don't have service in a lot of these places, and you can only dick around on your phone for so long. That's gone. Now this is where your story brought me. So that's why I went into this. Is you're sitting here and like all the distractions are gone, and you have to sit in it. Whatever bullshit you're going through back home or whatever, wherever you're at in life, like, you have to sit in it. And hunting gives you that opportunity where you just sit in it. And you just sit in it, and a lot of people don't do it because they're afraid of what they're going to find. They're afraid so they did this distraction. It's so easy to distract. Everybody you talk to now, oh, I'm busy. That's why you have so many unhealthy people carrying so much unhealed trauma walking around right now is because they don't put themselves in environments.
Situations.
We physically put ourselves in environments where, not necessarily by choice, as far as we still kind of want those distractions, but we put ourselves in these situations where, thankfully, a lot of these distractions are stripped away and we're just kind of sitting in it. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, man, some of the most healthy people in the world are people that spend a significant amount of time in the outdoors. And that's a part of it where I don't think a lot of people realize that it does for us.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
you sit in there and you man, how many times I've cried up on a ridge and thinking about shit back home and everything else. Excuse me. But like, you go through these moments and then you kind of come back through it, and then all of a sudden it's like, I mean, realistically, that's the grieving process. It forces you into these healing moments, and when you were talking about that, where it kind of strips you raw of all these different things, and to me, that's where I feel like you get to the point. You hit a breaking point where you're talking about, man, I really wish I had a shower and da-da-da. You kind of push through that. Then the psychological part of it kind of sets in. Mm-hmm. And then that's where you're just kind of left with your own thoughts and your own stuff. And you have no choice but to process it. And that processing is the healing process itself. And I'm telling you, hunters and stuff, and I'm not trying to say other people aren't, but me being a part of the hunting community so much, like, I really give credit to that aspect of it a lot, to a lot of outdoors people being some amazing people. Mm-hmm. And they may not know it, man, but they've put themselves in those situations. They may not have a label on it. They may not be able to articulate it or tell somebody to express themselves about it, but I guarantee you they've been there.
Yeah, for sure.
And kind of back to that, like, without hunting, like, for me, like, everybody's story is different, but like, hunting is what brought me to God.
Yep.
And like, to me, like, that's a huge part of my story. And like, I'm just starting my story now, being at a young age, but that breaking point that the outdoors and hunting that, it forces you to be in, sometimes your only reaction is to ask someone for help. Yep. And that day I found Christ, we asked God for help. Yep. And he provided that help, and it just opened my eyes to what he can do for you in your everyday as well. Yeah. So that was like a huge turning point too for me. Like, wow, like, God put me here in this situation at this time on this day. For what reason? For him. Yeah.
And all because you're chasing some dumb little deer.
It's
crazy.
And the crazy thing to me is, like, if one thing would have been different, my story would be different. And like, that to me is what just goes, like, there's something's happening right now that we have no clue about. And all these people's stories are coming together to create this one giant mecca of just power. And like, to me, like, that's a clear sign something's happening. And like, for example, like, if we would have shot a deer early season, we wouldn't have been in that situation. My path right now might be completely different as far as my outlook and my aspect on God. Before I quote unquote believed, he put me in a position where I was like, okay, dude, like, chill. Like, I see you. And then now I'm seeking that because of that driving force. Like you said, the hunt, when you finally achieve it, and that effort and that power, it's the same thing now, where like, that moment where I had his presence was so powerful that now it's like an addiction I'm trying to fill in finding him. Mm-hmm. And like, that is like an addiction that I want to have for the rest of my life.
Isn't it amazing though? I mean, just hunting, like, it's so, like, I could go on and on, like, why we're so fortunate to have this lifestyle. I mean, just right down to the fact that we know what we love. We know what makes our belly fire burn hot. We know what that is. And a lot of people, I don't know if I could say most, but a lot of people spend their entire lives trying to figure out what that is. Yeah. We're fortunate enough to know that. Yeah. Especially you, like, I look at you at such a young age to know that now you can build your life around that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I mean, really, like, and it's an amazing thing. It's a super powerful thing. And to see all these people that are experiencing these things, and like, I talk about my story a lot, and it's like, your story is your story. Your story is your story. And it's so freaking, like, I don't even know the word. I want to say grateful, but that doesn't even do it justice. But to just be like a tiny part of like your story, and to be a part of your story and you mine. Yeah. Like, it's, to me, that is just one of the most powerful things in the entire world, to to even experience that. And it's in the common core and the common root of it is the outdoors.
Yeah.
Like what else I don't know of anything. Like it's insane. Like,
yeah, I sometimes wonder how, some people, I guess, there's therapy, there's those kinds of things, right? Yep. And especially in this stage, I think I think more people need to understand that maybe, drop the pride and then go, okay, I need help,
Absolutely.
Right? And some people find it in the form of being in the wilderness, and that works too. And maybe you need a little of both. But it's, that's one of the reasons why, hunting trips with your buddies are great, but solo trips, I love solo trips too, because, in your everyday life, you feel like you have to show up. You have to show up for everybody, and you don't want to show weakness because you want to be strong for all the people around you, right? And so it's difficult to, gosh, even with some of the people you love the most, with your wife or your husband or whatever, people have a hard time showing that side of them, and to be out in those situations and to have the opportunity to go, you know what, there's nobody around right now. And if I'm going to just start wailing and just start bawling or whatever, because I feel like that's a form of therapy too. I don't think crying is all about just, being sad. It's about just, it's a form of therapy.
It's healing, dude.
And
here's
it's
the joy.
something that you should do, even if it, just whatever it could be, maybe like you said, maybe you didn't have an opportunity. You never had an opportunity to grieve the loss of that person in your life or something like that. And like you said, you're sitting up on top of that hill and all of a sudden that hits you and you start thinking about it. And it's just like,
it's an opportunity.
It's like, well, okay, real quick. All right, there's no deer down there. Okay, now I can start crying.
And something I want to mention too is the outdoors provides that to us, right? But that moment I was in, and like moments you guys have been in, the outdoors and what God has placed in our life. I was talking to somebody recently. It's like if you're sitting there and all of a sudden you just feel this giant warm hug come around you and just go, it's all right. Like the outdoors has done that for me, and God has done that for me, where like any struggles I have every day, like I need to know that those are temporary and that God is there and he's willing to take that off of you. And like that warm hug, like sometimes that's what you need. And that when you start crying, when you start, experiencing those emotions, like that's that hug. You might just see it as like, oh, it's alone time and I'm feeling emotional today. And you can look at it that way, and a lot of people do. But when you look at it in a deeper perspective, it really starts like creating this story in your head. And
I think that's like a key thing though, is like the deeper perspective is like you have to be open to it.
Yeah.
Just because you're like hunting or something doesn't mean you're going to benefit from this kind of deeper meaning of it. You have to be open to it.
Right.
And kind of like what you were saying, Ricky, is like, I think something it does, an opportunity that it gives people, and I say this is one of the, like, especially in romantic relationships, that one of the most beneficial things that couples don't give each other the opportunity to do is miss each other.
Yep.
They're always together. They're always together. They're always grinding together. They're always together. You go on them solo trips, even if it's with your buddy, like you're separate from your partner, even like, that's why I really like the solo stuff too also, is because it's so cleansing and it like puts a lot of stuff into perspective. Is in the sense that like, you can miss the shower. You can miss it. Missing is a powerful thing. And it's almost like missing something is almost a disguise. It's disguised as like underlying gratefulness. And you go on a trip and you got the opportunity to be away from your spouse, and you can really like collectively and clearly think like, man, I genuinely miss this person. Like, and I don't like, that's powerful, dude. Like when someone walks up to you and they go, man, I missed you. Dude, I don't care where you're at and how shitty you are. If someone says that to you, dude, man, it feels good. And especially somebody that you are genuinely in love with, and you can feel that experience and share that, it's this constant reminder of like why you're together and why this stuff. And like, and again, going back to the benefits of hunting and the outdoors and the great wilderness is it gives us the opportunity to miss things. And I think that is a crucial part in people's lives that they just don't have anymore.
That right there, what you just mentioned, it's in your everyday, you don't allow yourself to have time to fill those wounds, you know?
Yep.
And then when you're gone, those wounds kind of open up and you're like, whoa. And then you can heal them, come back, and then show your gratefulness, like you said, man.
If you don't, like, just taking a step out of something, it really puts a lot of stuff into perspective. You don't see your wife for, 2 weeks. And when you see each other again and you go out and you just embrace and you hug, and it's like, holy shit, like, man, like that little feeling is a reminder, when you're arguing the next time or whatever this happens or this hardship, like it's like, hey, when this ain't there, it sucks, and I missed the hell out of it, dude. Yeah. So you get your shit together and you
figure it out.
And I mean, whether that's with fellowship, with friends, or work stuff, like, but it's super exaggerated with your romantic relationships. And man, I'm telling you, to be able to, like, when you embrace and you feel that, like, it is such a huge reminder. It's so powerful, and doing this stuff puts us in those situations where, and this is where I want to like slide in and say, I'm helping all you guys out with it, like getting permission to go on hunting trips. But it really is a huge, and I say that too. I'm like, it's tough. Like having a relationship with me, it's not easy because I'm gone a lot, dude. I'm about ready to set sail to Idaho for 2.5 months. Like, it's not easy. Yeah. But it's like, you come back together with your partner after making it through that. There really is nothing else that can duplicate that. And even your family, seeing your parents and your brothers and, your siblings, like, it's so crazy how that puts you in a place. So the next time you're gone, you take things less and less and less and less for granted. And dude, your life is so freaking awesome when you can look at it that way. When you start to, because I don't think you ever get to a place where you don't take things for granted, because the routine bogs you down, and you get in it. And but when you start to like have these moments where it's just like, this is an opportunity, and you go into these things and you're like, you start taking less for granted, man. It's unbelievable how much it improves your life. And I think it's like a shitty negative filter. Like, it filters that negativity out, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, amen. And again, scarcity creates value. I'm so huge on that, dude. Yeah. I should have that tattooed right there.
What's the cheesy quote? Like, distance grows the heart fonder. Yeah. Is that the quote?
Yeah.
Like, that's the number one thing for me too, is like knowing that it like sucks in the moment, but knowing when you guys can reunite. Yeah. It just strengthens you in whatever relationship you're in. And
think of that in like many situations all throughout everything. I mean, it could be you being away from your spouse a day at work. I can't wait to go home. We've got this recipe. We're going to make this. Or your buddy, like you talked about, dude, like, it's so cool, like, talking like this, because it all comes full circle. It's like, we talked about, like, we don't see each other for 9-10 months. Yeah. I can roll in here and be like, dude, like, I'm so happy to see you. And like, this is so fun to talk about this stuff. I can't wait to do it again. And da-da-da. And it's like, you find that you just all around, like, your energy, dude, is like so much like positive and light, and more people want to be around you, and the shitty dark stuff kind of just starts falling off. And and that, I don't know, I attribute a lot of it back to just spending time outdoors, and that opportunity to be able to miss things and people is so huge, dude. Yeah, it's so huge.
But yeah, man, thanks, dude, for this. This is a great conversation. And
still here.
We're definitely gonna do it again. It's a good thing your lady's on vacation. I was gonna ask you. I was like, man, you gotta go, and then I thought, oh yeah, you're solo this week, man. So you do you. But maybe you got some work that you're just sitting there going, gosh, I really should be working on this project. But
we'll probably do it anyway when I get home. So.
But thanks for sticking it out. And
it's been a blast.
Dealing with our rant.
Like your guys' perspectives, I see stuff on social media and I kind of just don't really know what to think. Yeah. And like hearing it in person from both you guys, now I like have like a way stronger, like type of viewpoint. And then also a lot of valuable information that I didn't know before, even
the podcast is a good platform for us to communicate and
Absolutely.
talk and reconnect and do all those kinds of things for sure. But I mean, gosh, even if I can educate one person, or if I can get educated by somebody out there who's like, well, you weren't really very concise about what you said there. And again, I'm not perfect. I don't know everything. And so I'm always here to learn and, but anyways, so yeah, again, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. This thing is beautiful. I might, I don't know. I might have to have my wife sleep on the couch tonight so I can lay next to it. But I'm going to probably cut that part out because that'll put me on the couch. But all in jest, of course. But yeah, this is absolutely beautiful. I'm just
glad you like it, dude.
Blown away. And great job. So if anybody's looking for something like that, definitely look up Josh, and I'm sure he'll be happy to get you going on
Absolutely.
that. And yeah, so where can people find you out there on the social media channels if they're looking for you?
Mainly, most of my dynamic is built around Facebook. I used to do a lot of YouTube stuff, but I would say Facebook on the Wells Outdoor Journal is the main base of the platform.
Perfect.
And then I have my own personal account, Joshua John, and stuff like that. But you can trace that through the journal and stuff. So.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Damon?
Damon Wolfe on Instagram, and then All for One and All for One Creative on Instagram, and Project Hunt. So. Yeah, I'm probably going to be in your DMs if I end up harvesting a bird with the longbow. My first longbow bird, I want it done by you since this conversation was so meaningful.
If any questions or whatever, just through the process, man. I love being a part of it.
Yeah, I'll tag you with my kill pick if I get one.
I love it. I love it.
I'm not jinxing it, but if it does happen, you'll find out.
You'll do it, dude. You'll get it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so if you want to, you can look us up on the Range Podcast on Instagram and on Facebook. Also, you can find this episode on our YouTube Vapor Trail channel. So make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, and give us a thumbs up so that you can be up to date on all things archery. And with that, we're going to pack up our bows and we're hitting the range. Have a great day, everybody.
See you later.
Peace.
Vapor Trail is now offering an exclusive discount to the Range Podcast listeners. Enter promo code TRP15, that's TRP15, at checkout for 15% off VTX bowstrings and Vapor Trail and Stokerized branded t-shirts, hats, and other gear.